Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Look at that face. Look at that smiling face. J. Chris Newberg's here. Hello, J. Chris Newberg. How are you, buddy?
Hello, friends. Nice to see you both. Good to
Yeah.
be back. Can't wait to say cool.
Cool. To every story, just go cool.
Cool.
Yeah. I used to love when Jay would do that. Just be like, yeah.
Sure.
Cool.
And you're like, thanks, dickhead. That's
This is
what I
like
needed out of you.
this is like the third time I've guested on this show, and the third time you've brought up Jay. Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to let it go at some point?
No, there's people that accuse me of like, oh, he never mentions Jay. Like, I'm afraid to mention Jay.
I think you hit your quota in the last 3 days for the next month. I think you're covered.
Well, it's more of a reference point to stuff, you know.
Sure.
I don't think of you as someone that just goes cool to stories, by the way. It's
No,
just
I
funny
know.
to fuck with people.
Sure.
But Jay would do that sometimes. Drove me fucking nuts. Absolutely drove me nuts. I was like, bro, you know, I'm fucking laying all this out, and then would take a knee on certain days for no reason. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
But whatever, it happens, I suppose. You know, someone like that, not totally seasoned in this, so that's kind of what you get.
Yeah.
How was your weekend?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Good. Yeah, enjoyed myself. Had a fun time. I went to the Pink Taco yesterday. Had some drinks with a fella. Oh, you know what I didn't do? Here's what I didn't do. I was Michelle and I were supposed to go to a drag brunch because they have a drag brunch at Hamburger Mary's, and it's so fun. And
Cool.
it's just like good food, drag performers, cool. But she backed out because she wasn't feeling well, and I was like, fuck, I don't want to go by myself. So my buddy Josh and I walked there. We get there and we meet my ex-roommate Allison and her two friends. And
I remember
just, like,
Allison.
Yeah, Allison's great. So I have this feeling, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to be here. I don't want to go. So we leave. We go to Barney's Beanery, and we have breakfast there. And as it happens, when they left, they went to this other bar, and there was a shootout between two gangs.
What?
And they had to run and escape. So
Really?
yeah.
Where's
and
Barney's Beanery?
It's at La Cienega and I want to say Wilson.
Okay.
But it's basically like La Cienega and Santa Monica. It's
Is
right near
it-
where
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
it's right near the old Jim Morrison Hotel, the Alta Vista, where he has a room there that's still available. It has bed bugs. And but the shooting was at Fairfax and Melrose at the 76 station.
Nice.
And or near there. And I was just like, oh my God, I could have been there.
The you could have. That would have sucked if you were there.
Yeah.
It's common in California. I go with my sister. This is twice now this has happened where and this is in Northern California, but she's like, yeah, this is the place where the smash and grab was. And there's video everywhere. And this is the place. And I'm like, this is a fucking bookstore. Or it's a shoe store. And it's like, there was a shootout here. And I'm like, awesome.
Well, my friend Josh recommended this place called Something Mona Me on Santa Monica. I was like, I'm looking for some place kind of romantic where I can go with Michelle. We can have an outdoor meal. It'll be whatever. And he recommends this place. I go to it, and I was like, this place was awesome, dude, but it was empty. There was no one there. He goes, oh, that's because of the mass robbery that happened last week. I'm like, the what? He goes, two vans pulled up, and guys with semi-automatic rifles jumped out, took everyone's watches, everyone's wallets, split. They never caught him.
Really? Yeah. It's happening all over. It's crazy.
But truth be told, it was great service.
Yeah, I bet.
Great service.
Bet when you're the only one in there. Yeah, I bet it's amazing service.
Yeah,
I'm curious how all these shootouts are happening with California's gun laws, though.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Isn't
Feels
it?
like those would have put a stop to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
The Pink Taco, is that on Sunset?
Yeah, Pink Taco. I made a mistake. I didn't mean Pink Taco. I meant Barney's.
That's the place Michelle and I, after our epic night at the body shop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we went in there, and Michelle and I spent, I don't know, 2 hours trying to convince the owner to let her on stage.
Yeah.
And legal reasons, blah, blah, blah. They wouldn't let her.
Mm-hmm.
And but we left there. We're walking back to your apartment and stopped by the Pink Taco, and we're standing there, and she's like, you know what? I'll just make food for us when we get home. And we went there, and that's when she told me she was on a vegan kick. And the only thing in the house, she gave me a fucking slice of cheese.
Nice.
That's what I was like, you fuck. I could have wrung her little neck.
Yeah.
It's like,
I get it.
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, let's sit down and have tofu together at 3 a.m. Awesome.
Yeah, she does that once in a while.
Yeah, it was the dumbest move ever. Because she could have just said, you know what, I'm going to be a total douche when we get home with my eating habits, but you should definitely grab a couple tacos before we head back to the house. Would have been so easy and so fitting.
You got the screw.
Yeah, I totally did. So, anyways, how you doing, Garrett?
Oh, I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about as good as it gets.
Does your hat say titties?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And it's meant to look like the Titleist logo? Is that what I'm picking up there?
That is correct.
Very good. I need one of those. I'm going on a golf excursion this weekend.
Any Spencer's at a mall. They sell
really? Them. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I would not mind showing up at my I'm going to Torion. Wonderful country club in northern Phoenix. I don't belong anywhere near it, but
you got to dress the part.
Yeah, I was invited. So going up there and hanging out with some friends and playing a few rounds of golf. I'm really worried about my back, but what are you going to do? They know I suck. So, but a nice titties hat might fit in perfectly for me. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, welcome everybody to the show. I'm wearing this in honor of you, Chris. Still one of my favorite jokes that you posted a couple years ago. When did they change the name back to Pine House? I fucking love that joke, dude. I just do. It's great when you'd have to be local to get it, but you posted something along the lines of, I don't care what anyone says, it'll always be DTE, Music Energy Theater to me, which is so, it's layered and it's it's perfect. It's so perfect. It's not divisive in any way. It's awesome. And every time I throw on my Pine Knob Music Theater shirt, I think of you for that very joke.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of jokes, big live Netflix special over the weekend.
Okay.
Joe Rogan did his, I guess this is the third one. I didn't realize this was the third time they've done this. Everybody watched the Brady roast. It was trending for what seems like 2 weeks and was really kind of cool. So I didn't, and I guess Cat Williams has done a live one. And Chappelle maybe.
Yeah.
Also did a live Netflix, and now Joe Rogan is the
Chris
third
Rock
one.
did one. Chris Rock.
Chris Rock. Maybe not Chappelle. Chris Rock, Cat Williams, and now Joe Rogan. Personally, I don't think Rogan's the guy for that.
Okay.
You know.
Did you watch the special?
I did. It was how I consider Joe Rogan stand-up, which Joe's great. He's fine. I don't think of Joe Rogan as like he's not like a generational comic in any way. You know, when you talk about the Chappelles, the Burrs, historically there's plenty of guys that would fit that bill as well. I don't put Rogan in that category as far as his stand-up goes.
I don't know. He didn't say Newberg.
Newberg, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Speaking for a generation, he has been for decades.
Sure.
What are you a big fan of Joe Rogan stand-up? Do you know him at all?
I've got like 3 or 4 pictures of me with him on Facebook from many years ago. So I used to hang out all the time at Improv, and he did it. I watched him do it. Like he was constantly doing the podcast out of the ice house in a small room, and he was walking around with a camera crew following him like way before anybody else was.
Yeah.
And so he had the blueprint for this type of like tech nowadays, years and years ago. Mad respect to the dude. I mean, like, I didn't really like his podcast at first, but I mean, I watch it. It's not the full, I never sit down start to finish and watch it, but I'll watch clips, and he's pretty good at, like, in my opinion, his talent is obviously many, but the way he doesn't really say anything, but says stuff. He's just like, it is the Pine Knob Music Theater.
Yeah.
And you're like, did you see the way Rogan said that?
Yeah. If you try to, these people that want to put in a box, Joe Rogan stand up or his podcast or it's remarkable. When you look at that dude's career and what he's done, it's like 5 careers in one. He's one of very few who has been able to do that. He seems like a genuine, decent dude, from what I can tell. I think he goes out of his way not to be an asshole to people, Now, people would say some of his claims are divisive and that makes him an asshole. Like, whatever, those people exist. But I don't get that feeling like he's a nasty person. I feel like he's a decent dude.
Seems like it.
I think his early, because he's only done like 3 specials, and his last one was 6 years ago. I thought the Talking Monkeys one was really good. I don't know if you saw that. I thought that was really good at the time. I found that years later after it came out. The one he did last, was it Cancel This or Cancel something? Triggered was the name of it. I thought it was all right. It was fine. He does a kind of a physical comedy thing at the end of it about the transition of Bruce Jenner to Caitlyn and ties it all back to living in a household with all Kardashian women. And it's really kind of unique and interesting the way he does it.
Sure. Correction. Strange Times was this last one in 2018 where he talked about all that.
It was Strange Times. Okay. Yep.
Triggered was 2 years before that, 2016.
Okay. Well, whichever one it was. And the first one I remember is him in a limo, driving to the club, and then he gets out of the limo and then goes into the club. Kind of that old bit. Mm-hmm. And this one, I just don't know that he's the guy that you have a giant Netflix special live with. And I'm saying this as a huge fan of Joe Rogan's. I think his podcast is unbelievable, almost second to none with what he's doing right now. Mm-hmm. It's just so funny that the people, like Jason Zinneman from the New York Times is going to break down Joe Rogan's thing. And then you get all the stories. I guess they got to write about something. Slamming unfunny. I love when people slam comics as unfunny. Mm-hmm. It's such a subjective art that it's like, yeah, unfunny to you. Okay. There's a big distinction between unfunny and unfunny to you. Like, right. I went and saw Ali Wong. I found it offensively unfunny. Mm-hmm. To me, it was so unfunny. I felt bad because my sister and brother-in-law got tickets for my mom and dad for Christmas, and we all went as a group downtown San Francisco to some theater, and it was fucking offensively unfunny.
Sure.
To me. But there was a packed theater there that fucking ate up everything she said. And so I would never go and be like, I'm stating it as fact that Ali Wong is unfunny. It's like, right. Well, that's not really fair. Like, the best you can hope for in any of this, whether you're doing a talk show or a stand-up special, is to find your audience. Right. And it feels like that's kind of changed, these cheap shots at comics. And, we're kind of living in this weird place. It's like, you know what? You don't all have to love Chris Newberg's stand-up, but Chris Newberg gets an audience every time he performs.
Wait, why are you bringing me into this?
Because you're a comic. And a highly an offensively unfunny one at that.
When I hosted, or when I was the voice, I hosted the Detroit Music Awards once or twice.
Yeah, I remember that. Was Sponge playing the year you did?
I don't know, maybe. But my review from the guy from Metro Times was thuddingly unfunny. And I was like, yeah. But
which makes perfect sense for you to be there too. You're a great musician. Mm-hmm. And you're a comic, someone who's capable of hosting something like that. Right. Do you remember what his attack was about?
No, I remember the way that was set up. It was like I had stuff written. No, I remember I was supposed to I had a set up for my guitar, and then they said, no, you can't use your guitar. And I was like, I have my whole set written for music. Yeah. And I have I've learned these songs and I'm going to do this. They're like, sorry, you have to wing it. And I was like, okay. I didn't have it. I was just like, and I just
Dude,
didn't have.
Detroit Music Awards, right? At the State Theater?
Yeah, but they've asked me to do it 2 times since. So it's like, it couldn't have been that thuddingly unfunny.
Yeah. But yeah. Who wrote it? Do you remember the name of the?
No, it doesn't matter. It
wasn't Gary Graff, was it?
I don't think so.
No, I don't. I can't see Gary doing that.
No, but as far as when it comes to, okay, you use the examples, Ali Wong and Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
They fit perfectly into 2 categories, whatever categories they are. Rogan is the first person who fits into the category has the largest social media following in the world. He could walk up on stage and put his penis in some pudding, and it's going to be number one on Netflix for probably 2 weeks. Because
really, does he have that big of a? I know he's got millions and millions, but I wouldn't think his social media following is that.
It's massive. You don't. What everybody on YouTube that watches him every day is, what is it, like 2-3 million people a day?
Oh, more than that. Yeah,
Okay,
11 million.
Great. So 11 million different people are going to tell their friends, and that's 11 million different people watching Netflix. Yeah. And it's a lot of people are going to watch it. And then you're going to have people who don't like him watching to see if he's not funny. And the same thing with Ali Wong when she had her success with her Baby Cobra special. And then she parlayed it into dating she got divorced, and then she started dating some celebrity. Yeah. And then she did it was really, really popular, the car chase one. Beef? No, it might have been Beef. That could have been the name.
It's good. I watched it. I watched it after I saw her and had an opinion of like, this is embarrassingly unfunny. Yeah. Like I watched it after that. So my opinion of her was like, ugh, don't want anything to do with it. And I watched Beef after that and I was like, she's great in it. Yeah. I have no problem with her. She's fine. She came off as a pretentious kind of cunt in the stand-up I saw. I mean, that was just my opinion.
Well, you said it best. It just wasn't for you.
Yeah, wasn't for me. But the New York Times, writing an article about Rogan, and you can feel the disdain for the popularity or what he is. Part of the reason Rogan has built the most popular podcast in the world is that he promises to explore ideas that he says the mainstream media ignores or downplays. Was the moon landing fake? Are aliens landing in Roswell? The reason we were them landing in Roswell, the reason we invented fiber optics. Does wearing a mask make you seem like less of a man? Well, the answer to that last one is absolutely it does. But, that's neither here nor there. Joe is on it. And that's so belittling. Just the sentence right there alone is so not like... you don't listen to his show then, if that's what you think. Like, oh, Rogan's going to be the conspiracy theorist whack job, who's going to speak truth to the powerful in that way. That's not at all what it is. You've missed the point completely, sir. Right. That is Joe Rogan a good stand-up comic, though, is the question. That can be a dangerous one for some comics to touch because Rogan has become a powerful gatekeeper, owner of the club in Austin, and a host who drives viewers to specials and movies. He tends to be talked about as a political or sports figure, a guru for bros, a symptom of a culture rampant with conspiracy, transphobia, and misinformation. But his current notoriety is all built on decades-long career of stand-up, which provides a contrast with his other media job. His podcast works because you get the feeling that he's an honest broker. It doesn't mean he always has to be right. It doesn't mean you always have to agree with him, just like I've said for a decade on this show. I don't claim to always be right or someone that you always have to agree with. But the point is, there's no, like, Bill Maher, I'd have more respect if Bill Maher was like, look, I have a particular party that I want to get in the White House, and I will do anything, I will say anything I have to say, or I will kind of manipulate a media or a story any way I have to make it fit this sort of narrative to help my team out. We're all on a team. I'm on a team, and this is what I'm doing. And if you don't say something along those lines and you just pretend like, hey, I'm just an honest guy out here reporting the facts, and it's so easy to see through that, especially when you cover this stuff long enough and you kind of see what they're doing. It's then that people go, bullshit. No, and that's where I think Joe Rogan sets himself apart. I believe Joe Rogan believes what he's saying when he's saying it. And that's all I can ask from an entertainer. It's all I can ask, sure. And trying to pit someone's stand-up routine versus the podcast they do is insulting on its face. Like, duh, God, we'll get to that in a second, Garrett. Thanks. Sorry, I get so distracted. Please pop that up in a second.
Yeah, I'm sure it's brutal.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Do you know what I'm saying, Chris? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But I don't understand why everyone gives so much weight to either one, like whether it's whoever the guy who reviewed it or Rogan. Rogan has succeeded. He's succeeded. He has a $300 million deal with Spotify. He has won.
He's on his second multi-$100 million deal with Spotify.
Yeah. Okay, so he's one bigger. So it's like he's going to say whatever he wants to say. You don't have to listen to it. There's plenty of other options.
Yeah, exactly.
And the only thing that I was curious that I think is cooler about his podcast than about his stand-up is that he goes slow on his podcast.
Totally.
So his voice isn't super high. Like whenever you ever notice when he's talking, when he's doing stand-up, his voice gets really super fucking high.
Sometimes.
Yeah. And it's just like it's abrasive, but
he's almost offensive to look at. He just looks so weird to me too. Like he's so big, and I don't know what he talks often about all kinds of vitamins, and God knows what the hell he's on, but he's interesting
smart.
Looking fella.
He's just smart. He invested in the UFC 1 billion years ago. He said he would work for free until it was successful, and it worked. He started doing podcasts so long ago. He started having cameras follow him along so long ago. He was still doing stand-up, but he knew that other things were more interesting. He decided to build his own club so he can play anytime he wants. He left Los Angeles, which he didn't like. He established his own thing. It doesn't matter if you like this guy or you don't like this guy. This guy won. He just won.
Did you like the incident that got him kicked out of the store for years?
The one with Carlos Mencia?
Yeah. Did you side with Rogan on that? Did you feel like he was sticking up for the little guy comic that was getting his shit ripped off all the time? Because you guys know when to be careful with your material around certain people. The comics know who the people are you need to avoid.
There's definitely been a few here, but those people usually get bounced out of town.
Carlos didn't.
Yeah, he did. He doesn't he goes on the road. He doesn't work in LA anymore.
Oh yeah, until Joe Rogan took him down literally one night at the store. Yeah. Like that's what changed everything. Before that, he was on a meteoric rise.
Yeah, he took over when Chappelle quit, so they just handed him the reins. Yeah, and he was accused of taking a lot of people's stuff.
Yeah,
and that's just not. It's not cool, and it's like because then you surround yourself with writers who also are a little grabby from things, and it's just like it's really super easy if you're a writer for a guy with low morals and who doesn't care where you get good stuff, and you say, hey, you know what? Go and find me the funniest, most downloaded tweet, or maybe find me the third, so it's not so obvious. Give me the funniest thing, so then all of a sudden we can write a sketch around this other person's idea. You're taking someone else's idea who's young and hungry, who's not getting paid, but who's working like they're trying to get paid because they're trying to get noticed. You're taking it and you're benefiting from it.
I wonder how many would-be successful people had that happen to them a handful of times and just fucking bailed on it, the business.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Like back in the day, a lot of people always gave Robin Williams shit for stealing jokes, but he wrote checks for every single joke he took.
Yeah.
And same thing with Dangerfield.
Did he though?
Yeah.
Did he? Because there's a big difference in buying a joke from someone. You guys all have done that. Sold a joke, bought a joke, whatever. Robin Williams is, I almost brought his name up because historically comics have said like, yeah, you didn't want to do your act if you saw Robin in the club.
Well, it's funny. There's Robin gave it a reason for his borrowing, if you will. He said he would just process all of this information and he would be caught up into it. And he would be like, oh my God, he's like, I would take this bit and I would take this bit because I was just improvising in the moment. I would remember all of these different things, and these things at work. And then afterwards I'd feel bad and I would write people a check for like $500 for the joke and apologize. Yes, that pissed off some comics who still wanted to do the joke, etc. But there was that episode of Louis. Do you remember the episode of Louis when he had Dane on? And they were talking about joke stealing and how Dane stole the joke from Louis.
I watched Louis. It's been many years, so I don't remember the exact plot line, but it rings a bell for sure.
Yeah, it was. This was like 2011 because we were on tour when he went and he shot it. But it was so funny to me.
You were on tour with him when he went and filmed the Louis episode?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it was so funny because he was being accused of theft. And then he stole what Robin Williams said about defending theft.
Was that written into the script like that?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know who wrote it. I don't know if it was on purpose. I just found it to be very like inside baseball. And
that's funny as shit. That's really funny. Well, it's a different world we're living in than the Robin Williams one that we're in. Like, people can be held to account much easier nowadays, where someone just pulls up old clips from you doing that joke in 2010, 2009, and then goes, "What the fuck, dude? Here you are in 2017 doing Chris Newberg's bit," from like, you didn't have that kind of accountability in the 90s, the 80s. Like, social media didn't exist. It was like, yeah,
it's crazy. The only time I bought a joke once for $100, and I'll never buy a joke again because I got screwed. And the joke was great. I heard this kid doing it, and I was like, first off, you're doing the joke wrong. You need to do it different. It was so much better. And the joke was, I locked my keys in my car in front of an abortion clinic, and I thought to myself, could I go inside and ask him for a hanger? And it's like it's a great joke. It wasn't written like that when I bought it.
How was it written? Do you remember how it was written originally?
He's like, I something like I would hate it if I locked my keys in front of my car in front of an abortion clinic, because it's like you can't go inside and feel good about yourself for asking for a hanger. Whatever. It was not. So I put it in my rhythm, and then I told it in LA after buying it, and this guy wanted to murder me, and I was able to trace back that the kid saw this guy do it, didn't think I knew him, sold me his joke, and then I just like, and I couldn't argue. I was like, here's what happened, dude. And he's like, oh, I know that fucking kid.
Yeah.
And so,
that's brutal. The balls to sell someone else's joke.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of genius.
How many jokes have you sold over the years?
A lot.
Yeah. Can you make a good, decent amount of money doing that?
It depends on the person. Like, yeah, I mean, like most comics are open about how much they buy. I think Ron White is known for paying $1,000. This was a few years ago, so it's probably more now. $1,000 for a minute of material. Like 1 minute of jokes was $1,000. If that was one joke, it was $1,000. If it was two, it was $1,000. I worked with this one comedian. I won't say who it was, but he is very successful. He had a character and he had a catchphrase. And it was back in the day.
Can we guess?
You can. I'm not going to say who it is.
Fine.
But we worked and we were in Nebraska and we were doing a show, and I kept giving him tags. And he's like, well, if you want to write jokes for me, he goes, I pay $200 a joke. And he's like, and I know you write one-liners. So he's like, throw me 21 liners. I'll throw you $4,000. And I was like, okay. And so I
did they have to be good? Or could was it just like this? I'm trying to think of catchphrases now. I'm in my own head. All I can think of is get or done. So,
right.
But I don't expect you to tell me.
Sure. But he took forever to pay me, because obviously people like that have money people and like people they need to go through and different check. Like they don't just take the money out of their account. They have to get it approved through their wife and through their business partner and their money manager. But it ended up being like 4 months until this guy paid me. And he wasn't ducking me. Every once in a while I'd call me and be like, I'm on the plane right now. I'm getting ready to go play golf, and I'm like, okay, cool, dude. I kind of want to eat. And he wrote me a check for 4 times what it was that he bought because he felt bad.
That's cool.
What? So instead of $4,000, he gave you like $16,000?
Yeah.
So why won't you out him? Because this sounds like a good person.
I'm not gonna. I just because I don't know if he's open if he's cool about telling people that he buys jokes.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Going back to the Rogan one, so he says it will surprise no one that Rogan brings up getting canceled. This, of course, is key to his brand, the dangerous comic bucking conventional wisdom, annoying the scolds and owning the libs. There's plenty in his show to get people mad. He says he believes in Pizzagate. He compares gay men to mountain lions. I'm glad they exist, but I don't want to be surrounded by them. And says slurs for cheap laughs or just laughs, I mean, isn't a comic's goal to get laughs? This idea of, that's a cheap laugh. Well, did the whole room laugh? I don't know. Am I missing something here?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it depends on it's just comedy is so crazily subjective. I came up with a joke the other day And I asked two of my friends, and one of them was like, "That's super offensive. Don't post that." The other one's like, "I can't believe you're making fun of little people." And I was like, "It's not. It wasn't about in my brain. It wasn't." And the joke is, I never told it. I deleted it after I wrote it. It was like, if the problem with getting into a fist fight with a little person is it's almost impossible not to punch down. And again, all wordplay.
Yeah.
All wordplay.
Totally.
No attacking of little people. No trying to glorify punching down.
Right.
My friends were like, "Dude, you're just making fun of punching down." Well, sometimes you got to. All comedy is punching down.
Punching down is a thing, by the way, that people try to throw out as a weapon. So taking advantage of that cultural reference that wouldn't have even made sense 15 years ago seems smart. Yeah. It's just it like, have we forgot how comedy works?
Yes.
And how different people's brains operate differently? Like, I don't know, man. Stephen Wright is one of the most brilliant comics out there. And his is all wordplay and one-liners for an hour straight. Like, it's way different than what Bill Burr's going to do on a stage. Mm-hmm. But they're both, creative outlets. Like, I just don't get it. On his podcast, Rogan can be deeply cynical about the media and the government, then staggeringly gullible. Name a conspiracy. Okay, Jason Zeinemine, COVID, the vaccine, Russiagate, Hunter Biden's laptop. Kamala Harris is super popular and cool. Joe Biden is sharp as a tack. Those are all conspiracy theories, Jason. Do you understand? Like, by putting a sentence like that into attack someone, like, he can be gullible. Name a conspiracy theory. They're hoping you're stupid enough to go, oh, conspiracy theory, you mean the moon landing's fake and little green aliens are doing anal probes on people in farm country. Like, that's what you're trying to get people to believe Rogan is peddling. And it's disingenuous.
Or another way of looking at it is, what did you say this guy's name was? Jason Zeinemon?
Zeinemon. Zinoman.
Jason Zeinemon. Mm-hmm. Jason Zeinemon watches Rogan's special, and he's like, how do I become more popular? I will attack him on every level, and I will say cheap things, and I will hit like, power buttons that are going to trigger people, and eventually people on podcasts are going to talk about it. So he's doing nothing different. He's just ringing his own bell.
Yeah, you're probably right. I would never read a Jason Zeinemon article on this. It just seems so, I think my problem is the disingenuousness of it. And I hope I come off that way in some ways, in like, I don't have to agree with someone all the way. I don't, but I have to believe that they're an honest broker. It's why I bring up Jimmy Dore a lot with his podcast. I have such mad respect for the segments he's putting out. I don't know about his whole podcast. I don't know much about his personality. I don't know him personally. But I think he's an honest broker.
Is he a British guy?
No. He's in LA.
What is
Jimmy Dore? He's probably closing in on 60, 57 maybe.
Oh, Jimmy Dore. Yes.
Jimmy Dore.
He's wonderful.
He's so fucking amazing.
Smart,
is he nice?
Man. So nice.
Great. That's great to hear. I'm glad to hear that. Jimmy Dore is someone historically I disagree with a shit ton. He was a Young Turks host, which is as far left as you can get.
Yeah.
But when he is dealing in honesty and he's telling his audience from day one, even on the Young Turks, like, you guys are wrong. This Russiagate is nonsense. This is a political hit job that's been carried on for 6 years and nobody's apologized for it. Nobody said we dropped the ball on that. It's fucking offensive. But what it does for someone like Jimmy Dore to someone like me who disagrees with him politically is I end up going, okay, he's an honest broker. He's not trying to do what Bill Maher does, where it's like, oh, it's against this guy I disagree with politically, so fuck it, who cares? Let's throw it out there. But what that does long term is it makes me go, okay, let me hear what he has to say about Julian Assange. Maybe the stories that I was reading and believing that this guy's a threat to fucking freedom and democracy, and maybe that's bullshit too. And I was able to listen to him and go, fuck, man, this sounds like another guy getting railroaded by the system of elites in power that don't like the fact that this guy's digging around in their fucking emails that someone gave to him, by the way. He should have whistleblower protection 100%. If that doesn't apply to Julian Assange, it doesn't apply, period. But then it makes me watch a little bit more and go, okay, I'm dealing with an honest broker here. Let me hear his take on Medicare for all. And then I go, okay, it might be flawed in some ways, but I see where he's going. He's got some points, and just having a hard, like, my team on the right disagrees, so fuck him. Like, no, I want to hear what this guy says because he's built a little bit of that trust. And I think Rogan does that in spades too. And if you whittle someone like Joe Rogan's podcast down to wild conspiracy theories, it's like, no, unfortunately, he became the voice of reason during a lot of madness through COVID. People like me don't have access to top physicians around the globe who can give you honest breakdown opinions that don't seem to be covered by big pharma, tack money, that kind of shit. And those people all got canceled across the board. They've been destroyed. They've tried to destroy them publicly, whether, Robert Malone or, Peter McCullough, any of these other doctors. And you go, no, kind of what you brought up, Chris, slow it down, keep the tone down, and let's have an honest discussion about what some of this stuff means. Rogan was the facility for that. He was just the lead-in. So the dishonesty comes in. Oh, you take your medical advice from Joe Rogan? No, motherfucker. What am I, retarded? No, of course I don't take medical advice from Joe Rogan, but I'm willing to listen to a 4-hour interview from a leading, cardiologist about myocarditis when it comes to COVID vaccines. Yeah, I'm not going to get it in 30-second news bites from Don Lemon. Right. That's pitching the fucking corporate media buzzwords. No, that seems lazy and stupid to me. So you're probably right. I get worked up about this stuff, I'll admit, Chris, and I want to read your review next. I do, but it's what I do. I'm sorry. I hope people see through a lot of this shit for what it is. And I want to point out the honest brokers out there, and I don't care what team they're on, left or right. I really don't. I know it just feels like right now there's a lot more insincerity going on the left, which is why it's covered the way it's covered on shows like this. Doesn't mean I'm always right, but it's really hard to build that trust. And I think Joe Rogan does a very good job of that. Again, not always right, doesn't have to be, but he's at least dealing in honesty.
I think I love your passion. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Before you read the thing, I remember I told this joke in 2005 at the Music Awards where I go, shout out to everybody in the audience. Shout out to everybody, all the musicians that drinking at the bar who are pissed off that they weren't nominated for an award that no one gives a fuck about.
That's fucking hilarious.
And just like,
dude, that's very, that's very, Ricky Gervais.
Yeah,
that's something Ricky Gervais would say at the Oscars or the Globes or something,
Sure, but it was met to crickets. So, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for this review. I'm sure.
But you know what? It might have been met to crickets in the room, like a lot of Ricky Gervais's shit is in that room. The rest of the people that are watching it loved it. I guarantee it, because it stands up today. That's still funny. So, for people that don't know, we've got a private chat here on the side. And so Chris and I are reacting to Garrett put in there. I found Newberg's review after the DMAs in 2005.
I highlighted.
So I can't read it.
I'll read it. It's from the Metro Times. I don't know who wrote it.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it matters to me.
You know what? It was.
I'll show you in a minute. It's at the bottom.
It was Tom Jurek or Stephen Lowenstein.
No, it was neither.
Who was it, Garrett?
Here, let me scroll to the bottom here. It says Johnny Loftus is a freelance writer.
Okay.
Johnny Loftus. Okay, I don't even know who that is. So
he took me down. But I'm ready to hear what he said.
He got you.
Yeah,
did this essentially end your career, Chris?
Yeah, I quit right after this.
Okay, the local music community certainly deserves to be applauded, but some of the people in the state Wednesday night seem to clap mostly for themselves. This is a problem for any award ceremony, from the Pinewood Derby Championships to the bloated laughter that is the American Music Awards. Its central questions become: what are our motives? Does this validate the work or the street cred? And do the awards unify or distract the music community? The DMA's answer was a volatile blend of promise and pomp. There were strong performances. The Eastern Michigan Gospel Choir was a powerful opener. Hip hop unit now on. We're joined by Ms. Corona for some bold and vibrant verse. But the show the show would build momentum only to watch it stall. In the role of the thuddingly unfunny MC was J. Chris Newberg.
Hey.
His partner in crime was a house DJ spouting supposedly pithy, but mostly just irritating presenter introductions. In these moments, the DMAs weren't a showcase for local music and artistry, but an enormous gas bubble of self-promotion and hollow laughter. Oof.
That didn't even hurt. I mean, because
it sounds like this J. Chris Newberg guy is a real sack of shit. That's what I gathered from this.
100%. But at the same time, it's like I'm completely honest. Like before you read it, I think I remembered the words thuddingly unfunny.
Yeah, you did.
And number two, I remember I didn't get to write anything. They were like, go out here and read this because I did. And I'm not throwing writers under the bus then by any stretch of the imagination. I just remember I prepared for music. I was not allowed to do music. So just what I did just did not work.
These people, who was the critic that handled media locally in Detroit back in the 90s? He was like a big deal.
Who?
He handled media. He did a media column. And if for Detroit Free Press or Detroit News, one of those, you'd know him if I said his name. He was like a big fucking name in Detroit. And it's not the one that came shortly after him in the 90s, in the early 2000s, who was great as well. But there was one who was like well regarded. And I remember being a young 23-year-old kid when Mark and I first took over for Rob Schaefer on the Drew and Mike show, and this guy wrote he was like friends with Rob. And it was just like these fucking, and just shit all over us in some column. I guess he didn't shit all over us. I'm probably remembering it more harshly.
He was a media columnist for the Free Press, right?
Yeah.
God, what was his fucking name? I know who you're talking about.
I ended up taking the clip from the paper and putting it on my fridge. Mark and I had it on our fridge for a couple of years. It was like, fuck that guy.
You have to consider 99% of every single review has nothing to do with the person they're reviewing.
Yeah.
That guy right there, whoever that was, Troy Loftus or Joe
Yeah.
Johnny Loftus.
Johnny Loftus. No disrespect.
Johnny Loftus. Album?
No, it wasn't Mitch.
I was going to say.
No.
Johnny Loftus, probably got shitty seats. He probably didn't get the tickets he wanted. He probably tried to bring a +1 and he couldn't. And then Kid Rock probably didn't talk to him, and Chad from the Chili Peppers blew him off.
Yeah.
So he's like, these ass bags don't know what it's like to be from Detroit, when in reality they do, because they moved,
Yeah. What did he call you again? Unfortunately unfunny? Or
No, thuddingly.
Thuddingly. I almost want to go back and watch, find clips from the 2005.
They don't exist. I don't think they even recorded it. And if they
what
did,
I would. About? The Fags played.
The who?
The Fags. That's one of the bands listed here.
All right.
He was a winner that year.
I bet there's no, literally, I bet there's no footage. And if there is, cool. I'd stand by it. I mean.
Oh, yeah.
I just remember it wasn't my finest moment.
It was the first year of YouTube.
Thank goodness.
You got mentioned in the Metro Times, which is fine. All press is good press in that respect. Those gigs, by the way, I would never take one of those if they wanted me to host one of them and try to be funny, because you're not really able to do you'd be you have to gear it towards what it is. And so now you've got to create a whole thing about local music, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I would do it now. Now I would do it. And I would I'm much more seasoned than I was 19 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it would be a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny, man. Well,
thuddingly unfunny.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny how you've probably gotten hundreds of positive reviews over the years, all over the country, in whatever their version of Metro Times or Detroit News and Freep is. Yet the only ones that stick with us are those ones that say something like that. Yep. That you remember that phrase 20 years later, That
was great. It was very fun. I mean, now I laugh at it. That's a diss.
Did you laugh at it back then, do you think? Or were you like, fuck, man, maybe I am unfunny like that?
I mean, you're dealing with like a 34, 35-year-old me who didn't have the confidence level I had. I just moved to California. I don't think that I had wicked amounts of confidence because I wasn't having success out here. And then I came back there to try to do something cool for a city that I loved. And I got just fucking taken out from the balcony. So I think I was probably disturbing at the time, but you just move through it.
Yeah. Anyway, some other stuff this weekend. We had the Hall of Fame football game on Thursday night after we did the show. I believe we did a member show, I think, Thursday. Mm-hmm. And Chris, we might have to do one tomorrow because I've got a doctor's appointment like right at this time tomorrow. It's going to be squirrely. So you and I, if we do something, we might have to do something early, which I think would be fine with you. But maybe we do a members one since we won't be able to pull stuff up the same way. But just speaking out loud.
Sure.
Did you end up watching the football Thursday night?
Yeah, until it was rained out, right?
Yeah. I don't. What was that? Fourth quarter that it got rained out?
Yeah, there was no fourth quarter.
Yeah. Pretty good game though. Honestly, just having football on in the background was awesome.
Yeah, it was cool.
I thought it was great, and that game is always kind of a dud. I mean, any preseason game really is, but it was Bears, Texans, and not starting anybody. I get it; it's an extra preseason game for those two teams, where every other team gets only 3. But none of the starters are playing. Like, throw your number 1 overall pick in there. Give him a quarter, like Peyton Manning used to. Tom Brady played in those games. Like, I don't know why these guys can't go out there and, I mean, shit, the SC quarterback hasn't thrown a football on a field since November.
The sideline reporting is so laughable because it's like Caleb Williams is going to model Tom Brady completely.
Yeah.
He even called him and was like, "What's your diet?" And then they cut to these guys who were like, "I remember after we won the Super Bowl, Tom Brady did an avocado shot and we were doing champagne. Tom Brady gets it." Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, good for that guy. You know what? Like, think about what would you rather have? 7 Super Bowl rings or 6 Super Bowl rings or a personality? Like, he's like, okay, you're a robot for however many years. And okay, now granted, you have hundreds of millions of dollars and you're still young and you can do whatever you want. But I bet he sucks on Fox because he has no person. He will suck. He has no personality.
I'm trying to think I think you're wrong, dude. I think with him,
he's going to suck. He's going to be the biggest fucking bust. He's not likable. He is he's photogenic as fuck. He's very good looking.
Yeah, 100%.
But he's a moron.
I don't think he can be terribly honest is the problem. I think you're thinking he's going to be like Tiger Woods, just like a robotic, brilliant at what he does, but an absolute bore elsewhere. See, I thought Tony Romo was great, like that first season, first few games, and then he got annoying to me.
Why?
But his insight is great when he would call out a play before it was snapped. Yeah. He'd be like, this guy's going here, he's going here, he's going to hit him over the top for 6. Yeah. Like, that was cool. I think the guy on Fox, the tight end with the huge cock. I mean, huge cock.
Is that how they advertise him?
Yeah, they did it. Yeah, Greg Olson. Olson apparently has a cock down to the floor.
Saving that for later.
What's that?
I said saving that one for later. What?
Yeah. No, I watched a documentary on. He was a Florida Hurricanes. He was a Cane, and they were. It was during all the cocky days and all that shit. And they called him Third Leg Greg. And the team did like a rap, and one of the references was to Third Leg Greg, and they all joked about how huge his cock was. So that's why I know that.
Nice.
So every time I see him, I'm just like, fucking huge cock. That's all.
But he got fired. He didn't get fired. He got snipped. He was the lead analyst. He was the lead analyst for Fox.
Yeah.
Until Brady came in, so he got whacked in pay.
Yeah, that's just name. That's all that is because, dude, he's really good.
He's really good, and Brady's going to suck. I bet Brady's taking like fucking broadcasting classes right now if he's smart.
Oh, yeah.
If he's smart.
Doing color, man, you need to have a big personality. You think of, what Howard Cosell and guys like that, and Dandy Don back in the day, and those guys are fucking great. Aikman's a bore. Aikman's a fucking bore.
But he's with Joe Buck, and he balances him perfectly.
Yeah. And Joe Buck's good. He's fine. Al Michaels is past his prime for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think of the Howard Cosells, like
Musburger.
Those were Brent Musburger, those. But Howard Cosell, like bigger personality than that stage, even.
Yeah, but Howard Cosell hit hookers. You just know he did.
Like punched him or fucked him?
Yeah, no, he punched him. He was like, "Go get me my paper."
You're gonna get us in trouble.
Well, punched him while fucking him.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get you in trouble. I'm just saying, he did.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think that was like, I think that was welcome back in the day. I think even hookers would say like, back in the 70s, 80s, you got slapped around a little bit.
Well, because you're worried about getting in trouble by hooker. I mean, the position in rugby that's in the backfield.
Oh,
so you're safe now?
Yeah, I see what you did there.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, the Hall of Fame game, famous for the enshrinees going in. I don't know, you get 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that go in. And one of the guys that went in this year, Steve McMichael. And I don't know, Steve McMichael would have been eligible for years. He's part of that famed 85 Bears defense.
Mm-hmm.
But it was announced that he had ALS back I think 3 years ago. And so they did something special this year. They're trying to make big productions out of these things. Like, it's such a big deal. They go knock on the guy's door and they announce that he's going into the hall, and and then they all cry on stage when they introduce him in their bust, for the hall and all that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. Well, Steve McMichael has ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease, right? Isn't that where your body just shuts down everything?
I think so.
I believe that's what ALS does, and I believe that is Lou Gehrig's disease.
All I know is I had some ice dumped on me, and I don't know why.
Yes, there you go. Okay, so the Ice Bucket Challenge.
Yeah.
That was for ALS. Good, you're right.
That's all I know past it.
Yeah. That would have perfectly fit in your early days, Garrett, that you would have done something like the Ice Bucket Challenge. So Steve is going in. Well, they wanted to bring the hall to him. So apparently he's bedridden. And they brought all of his a bunch of his former teammates. Names you might remember, Chris, that Garrett definitely won't. Richard Dent, Ron Rivera, Mike Singletary, Gary Fensick, among others. Richard Dent spoke, and I thought it was good what he said. Steve, we're here with all your world champion brothers back in Canton. We have 378 brothers that are looking for you. You're on a team that you can never be cut from. You never can be released from. When you die on this team, you will still be on it, which is cool, going into Hall of Fame, something like that. But they all went around his bed, and I noticed the debate going around. Do you have the video there, Garrett?
Yeah.
Go ahead and play some of it. Fast forward a couple minutes as they do this intro bullshit.
Steve McMichael's bust at his home in
I don't.
Oh God.
Yeah.
This looks like a pear sketch.
Yeah.
Oh, this is horrible.
You got your bus, baby. You ready? It's gonna be right here. Mace, help me pull it down.
Oh no.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that's what he actually looked like. That's actually, go ahead and pause it there, Garrett. I think we've seen enough. And you can get rid of the video. That bust is arguably one of the best ones I've ever seen them do. Like, that's exactly what Steve McMichael looks like. So many of those look really goofy. You're like, I don't think they captured his likeness. That one, like, Steve McMichael was a hulking human being, massive. And to see him in that bed like that was shocking to a lot of people who could have seen an interview with Steve McMichael early on as like 3 years ago. And that's not what they would have seen. So the debate is like, holy shit, why would you do that to him? You don't want him remembered that way. He was one of the strongest people in the world and this fierce competitor. part of the famed 85 Bears defense, one of the, if not the most feared defense to ever take a football field ever. And, this is blah, blah, blah. The other side of that argument is this is the true devastation of what ALS does to someone and what it does to the human body. And it's important that people, for funding, for sympathies, whatever, that people see the actual reality of it, that don't hide this away, that this is the truth and the reality of this horrible disease that we need to eradicate. I don't know if you have an opinion on it, Chris. I'm kind of throwing it at you, or Garrett, for that reason, for that fact. But do you have an opinion on it, Chris? Because you saw the video, and I think just looking at your guys' faces, it was like, oh shit, wasn't quite expecting that.
It's such a weird thing to think about because it's from a selfish perspective, which would be like, oh my gosh, I don't know if that's what everyone wants to see, but I mean, if I'm correct, ALS, your physical body shuts down, but your brain still works, correct?
Yes.
So who am I
Which means to further what you're saying, and I don't mean to cut you off there, Chris, which means he could have absolutely okayed that he would have been of sound mind to say, to however he communicates, because I don't know that he's talking, but to be able to communicate that, yes, no, I don't give a shit. I want people to see.
That's the more important thing to focus on. Whereas I would look at it, as I did look at it, and I was like, yikes. I mean, he's like 1 foot in. It's very sad because it's like, here's this person. Who was this? What was that? Let's see, 20, 85, 95, 2005, 35 years ago, 39 years ago. He was this mighty fucking gladiator. Yeah. And now he's just like 120 pounds soaking wet. It's just sad. But if in his brain he was like, you know what, I'm not going to be here much longer. I want to be surrounded by my family and my friends. I want to get to see this thing I worked really hard for.
I earned it.
Yeah. I completely support. But on a purely selfish level, I would have loved to have been warned that that's what that was going to look like.
Yeah.
Not from you
guys.
Could have
framed it better.
Not from you guys, but just like.
No.
My thought, which is terrible, and I admit, like I have a dark mind too. My first thought was, thank God this guy's not running on the Democratic ticket, because then we'd be hearing people going, oh my God, he's running circles around the youngsters behind the scenes. They could barely keep up with him. Mm-hmm. We'd be hearing stuff from Joe Scarborough like, this is the best version of Steve McMichael I've ever seen, and F you if you don't believe it. Right. Like that kind of shit, and I'm like, no. Sorry, I can't help where my mind goes sometimes. Yeah. So, I understand both sides of that debate. Now, I think also there's something weird. I don't understand it. I don't identify with it, because I feel like if I get to a point where your memory's going this and that, like, you just stop doing it. You don't try to keep this is a young man's game. Being on a microphone in public, being on a stage, like, that's a young man's game in a lot of respects. Now, some people can pull it off. Rodney's a great example. At 80 years old, he's still, able to go out there and kind of hit home runs. Like, those guys exist, but they're few and far between. And when I look at Dick Clark, New Year's Rockin' Eve, and they prop this guy out there as America's teen, or Lee Corso, I'm sorry, when he's doing, game day, and it's like you have all these grown men coddling him, like treating him like a toddler. And it's like, why are we still doing this? Why, like, you're not putting a face to something at this point. Like, Steve McMichael, it sucks. It's not his fault that he's still alive, but is not able to travel to Canton, and is like, fuck you, man. Everybody gets to go on that stage surrounded by their old coaches, teammates. They put the gold jacket on them. They get their bus. I'm not in that condition, but fuck it, man. I'm not going to just hide away either. I want them to show my highlights. I want them to have my bust here and my teammates making speeches about me. So it's a tough one. I don't think it's in the same category as what Dick Clark put us through for a few years, or what Lee Corso has been putting us through for a few years, where I don't think it's the same thing. I don't know.
Lee Corso's rough. I mean, but it's like, but you also have to, like, you can't speak as a who's in that chapter of their life. It's like, you're like, if you're Dick Vitale or you're Lee Corso, that's all you fucking got left.
I know, but Corso's got to be 80. Like,
so
at what
Mick
point?
Jagger's 80. Mick
Yeah,
Jagger's
but
80.
but that's like.
How's it different? They're the same age.
Because it's taking the extreme to make a point. When the extreme is just very, very rare. It's very, very rare. It's the argument people love to do when not to bring it to a trans story, but the trans thing, like hermaphrodites exist, and you're like, yeah, but you're talking about a sliver of a sliver of a sliver of a percentage that don't act like that's the fucking norm, and Mick Jagger, while Mick Jagger exists, and Paul McCartney is still able to go out on stage at his age and top of the game. It's not normal.
Sure.
It's not at all.
I agree.
Yeah. I hope you're still able to do it at 80, Chris. I hope I am
fucking
too.
Kidding. I don't want to be doing this at 80.
Yeah, I don't either. I just lied to everybody when I said that. I don't either. This is the last thing I want to be doing at 80.
I interviewed this guy from the Eels, and fucking awesome interview, super fun. And at the end, I'm like, what's next for you? And he goes,
death.
He goes, haven't I fucking done enough? And I was just like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
There must be something to that draw. Like, I didn't understand Dick Clark. Like, Dick Clark had a major stroke. And like, he was known as America's teenager. Like, he just had that. When he was 60, he looked like he was 20. Like, he just had that. And then he had a major stroke, and it all changed, all of it, and it was uncomfortable. And then you have to have other adults coddling to the point of like treating someone like a baby, like reverting to, oh yeah, oh, look at him, like Jill Biden with Joe after the debate. He got his fucking ass handed to him. And she's like, oh, Joe, you did so great. You answered all the questions. It's like, ugh, this is a former fucking sort of respected senator, vice president. Like, what are we doing here with these people? I just don't understand it. And that Dick Clark wheeling him out for another couple years just seemed cruel. It seemed like elder abuse. Like, is nobody in their lives able to go, you know what, Dick, it's time to hang it up. It's time to,
He was in charge of a lot of stuff. I mean, he was the boss for a bunch of things. You also have to consider, if that was the case, like whether or not he accessed or gave power of attorney to anybody. If he didn't do that, then he was still the man in charge. And if he wanted to be wheeled out, what are you going to do? Say no? He's signing checks.
Well, who's doing it now? Because they still call it Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve.
Probably Ashton Kutcher.
It's the production company that's not owned by him. I mean, like Dick Clark Productions is in place, but I would sincerely doubt if anyone from the family. I worked with his daughter, Cindy, on 2 different shows. First off, wicked smart. So fucking smart. So talented. Great lady.
Really? What does she do?
She's a producer.
Okay.
Like, when I say wicked smart, I mean, and she looks exactly like him. Like long hair, really pretty. Like, just fucking wicked smart, wicked funny, and can do the most creepy, like creepily accurate baby impression, like a baby crying.
My brother does that. I hate it.
Yeah. It's like, it's so good, but I'm so afraid.
Yeah.
I mean, we never talked about her family, and I got the impression that she didn't want to speak about her family.
Sure.
Because for whatever reason, but none of my business. It's just he's an icon. He's huge. He's a big deal. I mean, he should be like 100%. on Mount Rushmore.
Nice. All right, we'll do that story next. That's fine, Chris. We can do that.
Why did you have to give up that I gave you the perfect segue?
Yeah, that's fine. Because I think people can see through you. And I want to be clear. I'm not taking a shot at Dick Clark at all. And I won't pretend to know what the background, but it seems like there's better solutions when something like that happens. That you go, okay, this is, to me, when you say Dick Clark, I would have thought of Bandstand, I would have thought of New Year's Eve, and now I don't. Now I think of, that weird 2 years where they pretended like this was normal having him host this. Like, that's what I think of. And I think that's tragic that someone's legacy, of which was 60 years long, is done that way. That's what I'm talking about. Lee Corso was a great coach. Lee Corso had 30 good years on College Game Day. Huh?
Who did he coach for?
I think he was at Florida State, maybe.
Before Bowden?
Yeah. I think you can fact check me on that. But a well-respected member of the college football fraternity world. And it's like you're driving this car down a path where it's going to end with people going, yeah. That when I think of Lee Corso, you become the butt of the joke of like not being able to communicate and people treating you like a toddler. And I don't know who's making the calls behind the scenes, if it's a simple power of attorney thing or if it's family that doesn't want to give up power. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. And maybe it's less sinister, but I don't think you're doing any favors for the legacy of these great people who built very strong legacies for themselves. I think it's unfortunate. I hope no one would do that to me. And
what if it was your choice? Like, let's say we'll cut to like 40 years from now. Garrett's still sitting in his chair. He's got a titties hat on. I'm here. My beard is down to my nuts.
Yeah.
You know, you're wearing a Pine Knob shirt or you're wearing a DTE Energy shirt.
Yeah. And fuck you, man. It'll always be DTE to me.
That's the throwback now.
Yeah. And then, we're like, and like we send you the link, and you're just like drooling, and you're like, I want to talk about trans people, or whatever. And, but we're like, Mike, but it sounds like you said, rah, 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 rah.
Yeah,
we'd still do it.
Well, I wouldn't want you guys to then hop on the mic and be like, great point, Mike. And I went, drooled all over myself. And then you guys pretended like I made actual sense and a salient point.
But what if before the podcast, you're like, you were able to communicate with your assistant, your pool boy, Joffrey. And you were able to communicate to Joffrey through several minutes and several hours. And it finally got to that point. And you were like, hey, man. You're like, hey, man, I just want one more show. I know it might not be good for them, but for me, I just want one more show. And then Joffrey was cool and he messaged us. We're like, all right, we'll sit with Drooly McMike for one more fucking time.
That'd be awesome, though, to be honest.
Wouldn't you be comfortable, like, when people question you about it and going, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. The guy's been running circles around the youngins around the studio. I mean, they can barely keep up with him. That's how sharp he is. He's killing it.
But what's harm in saying that? Like, literally, it's not disrespecting.
Oh, I don't know. In that example, yeah, there's no harm in saying it when you're a podcast host. When you run the free world, it's a little different. But yeah, for this case, no. And the major difference is, Chris, I don't have a legacy. Mm-hmm. Like Steve McMichael built a legacy, one he should be proud of. So did Dick Clark. So did Lee Corso. Like, those are the ones you're like, yeah, these guys are nationally recognized. Whether you follow college football or pop music culture historically, they're nationally recognized people who, in my humble opinion, for the nothing that's worth, I don't think you're doing any favors to those legacies, which I always thought was important to people, what your legacy was. I think Cosby didn't do his legacy any favors. I'll be honest.
I don't think he gives a fuck.
I think
he gives a fuck.
I think Cosby had a great... What do you mean no one gives a fuck?
I don't think Cosby gives a fuck.
He should.
He doesn't. He doesn't give a fuck.
Dude, he's going to go down as the most prolific rapist in the history of the country.
He'll be dead, and everyone he surrounds himself with disagree. It's not like he's going to go on Twitter.
Well, those 6 people are stupid. Who cares what those 6 people think?
They're on the payroll. They want a piece of that prolific rape pie.
Yeah, and we'll hear what they say when they're not on the rape pie anymore.
You'll get the truth. You'll get it in the book.
Yeah.
Well, I think we had a great example of this actually recently with O.J. Simpson, like tweeting till he died.
Yeah, he hung in there. He played the game till the end. He was a great follow too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little crazy is fun.
Yeah. Boy, he went quick too. He got swift. He got a merciful end. You wouldn't think for a guy like that. But you did bring up something interesting. Mount Rushmore.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. Nancy Pelosi was keeping the Joe Biden legacy alive this weekend as she tackled the She's former Speaker of the House of Representatives, one of the most powerful women on planet Earth. You don't want to fuck with Nancy Pelosi. Suggested during an interview over the weekend that Joe Biden should be on Mount Rushmore. Do you have video of it, Garrett? We can check it out really quick.
So he was in a good place to make whatever decision, the top of his game. Such a consequential president of the United States, a Mount Rushmore kind of president of the United States. Want to know what comes next?
That he belongs up there on Mount Rushmore. Lincoln and Joe Biden.
But you got Teddy Roosevelt up there, and he's wonderful. I don't say take him down, but you can add
Yeah,
Biden.
you basically
so
did.
he was in a good...
Yeah, go ahead and you can get rid of it. That Nancy, just stop. Just stop. You're not fooling anybody into thinking Joe Biden should go on to Mount Rushmore. I mean, it's absurd on its face. The guy, I don't even need to get into the fucking my lines here of what Joe Biden's been, but just stop, Nancy. No one's buying that. No one's falling for that. And certainly no one is going to go out to, where is it?
New Mexico.
No.
Washington.
Is it Dakota? South Dakota?
It's North Dakota, right?
Is it North Dakota, South Dakota? Where
yeah.
Mount
I thought it
Rushmore?
was-
South Dakota.
South Dakota. Boom. Yeah. No one is going up there with scaffolding to put Joe Biden's face on Mount Rushmore.
Well, better question. Who do you think would, if you got to put someone up there, who would you put up there?
George Floyd has a good argument.
Okay.
If you listen to the media, George Floyd, maybe Michael Brown deserves to be up there.
What do you think, though?
Nikki Sixx, I would consider.
Nikki Sixx. So you've got, who's up there? You've got Washington, Lincoln, Teddy
Jefferson.
Roosevelt, Jefferson.
Teddy Roosevelt, Jefferson, yeah.
And Nikki Sixx.
No. Politically, I honestly, my personal opinion is that you leave well enough alone. Like that monument exists.
Nope. You got to put someone up there. Don't take the safe route. You don't like Biden. You don't want him to go up there.
No.
Who'd you put up there?
Lincoln's up there. Nixon would be cool looking. You could do a lot because of his features. And
Sure.
I think the more time goes on, the more you're going to find that dude was absolutely fucked and taken out of power as the most popular president in the history of this country. Nixon. Those stories are coming out now as people dig more into that about what happened at Watergate. And it's looking more and more. I don't have enough to make too bold statements on it, but Nixon might be exonerated in the end, and maybe you put Nixon up there. And I'd go with the peace sign, peace fingers too. I am not a crook.
You're going to add a face, but he's going to have like little fingers.
Yeah, or have him over his head, like I am not a crook, like that. Just carve it right into the mountain.
Is there going to be like a button that you press on the rock that
And then he goes, I am not a crook.
Is it going to be like one of those bass on the wall, but it's like a Nixon
Yeah.
fish?
See, the problem is that would be cool the first month, but then it would just be like, ugh, bass on a fucking wall. That's all it would look like. So it'd be stupid. Why? Who do you think? Who would you put up there?
Cher.
Cher?
Yes.
Why Cher?
Why not? Because
He
she's
looks in love after life.
Yeah, and she's been trying, like she's been turning back time. She's trying to find a way.
Yeah.
That's Cher, man.
Isn't it supposed to be just political though? Because if you wanted to do a Mount, I don't know what you'd call it, Chris. Maybe you can come up with a quick Mount Rushmore.
After dark.
There you go, and just do like rock stars that go up there. Maybe you put Bowie up there. Maybe
Cher,
that's
Nikki
it.
Sixx.
Cher.
Yeah, it's Mount Rockmore.
Mount Rockmore. Okay.
And it's on the other side. And on the other side of Mount Rushmore is Mount Rockmore. We got Cher. We got Nikki Sixx. I'll give you one more.
Okay. What if we did like we put Mount Rushmore in quotes and put like Geddy Lee up there, or
It's Mount Rockmore, dude. There's no Mount Rushmore.
Okay. All right.
So you got
more
Cher,
people.
Nikki Sixx, Geddy Lee.
I honestly, I wouldn't put Nikki Sixx in there, but I would put McCartney in there.
Okay, so
Actually, maybe I would do Nikki Sixx. Maybe I would put Nikki Sixx in there. You know who I'd put in there is fucking Prince, man.
Yeah.
Prince is an absolute monster.
Yeah, that's true. But you only get
saw-
two. You get two. You only get two.
Why do I only get two?
Because
what if my Mount Rockmore is like
has-
100 people?
They're not individualized Mount Rockmores.
You act like this is a sanctioned thing that's in pre-production, and we've already settled on a number of heads.
The same people who tried to build the wall have abandoned that, and they're going to build Mount Rockmore.
Okay.
So I got Cher. You got Geddy Lee.
No, fuck no, I don't want Geddy Lee. I was doing it for the Mount Rushmore joke. That's all. No, Geddy Lee.
Oh, I get it, Mount Rushmore because of the band Rush.
Did you just figure that out now?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
You got that one past me.
Chris, this is what you do for a living. Tell me you got that, Garrett, that didn't go sailing over your head. Okay.
I'm not saying anything against Chris. He's probably just a little burnt out from writing jokes all day.
Yeah, it's true. I got notes for jokes when I was on I checked my phone. I got to change 3 jokes.
So if in your Mount Rockmore,
yeah,
you can't just pick Cher, which is a stupid pick anyways, but go ahead.
First off, you're fucking out of your mind. If there's no Cher, there's no fashion in music. She was just, What did they, what did Paul McCartney do? Hey, me and these other 3 guys are going to wear the same fucking coat.
Oh, I don't know. Let It Be?
Yeah, he wrote Let It Be. Because do you know that you can hear Lennon in the middle of Let It Be go, oh, fuck all, in the background?
What about Sgt.
Really?
Pepper?
I did not know.
No, it's actually it's in Hey Jude.
Hey Jude.
He says, he says, hey, fuck all. Oh, fuck all. What'd you say, Garrett?
I was going to say the outs in Sgt. Pepper were pretty wild.
But who was around before then? Cher, because she already had a bigger...
Cher was not around before then.
She was absolutely around before Sgt. Pepper.
As an icon, as a fashion icon, I think of Madonna as more of a fashion icon than her. Sonny and Cher. Okay, all right, I'll give you the Sonny and Cher.
Sonny and Cher were huge.
Who else would be on your Mount Rockmore? Say you got to put 4 on there.
I have to put 4?
Yeah.
Who are you? So who are your 4?
I haven't figured those out yet. I gave you McCartney and I gave you Prince.
I don't want a fucking incomplete Mount Rockmore. I want a full order.
You've given me Cher, you asshole. What
I
are you
didn't
talking about?
I just realized that I get to have 4. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Cher, Robert Smith of The Cure,
Ugh.
Buddy Holly,
Mm.
and the entire Leonard Skinner band squished in a plain-sized pile.
Okay. So
not
you
not an accident remnant, but it would be the same size. The whole band, the whole Skinner.
all of Skinner. I think you'd divide people a lot because now you're bringing Confederate flags into the thing. It's very divisive pick.
This is my Mount Rockmore. First off, if it is Confederate flags, it's canceled out by the fact that Cher has a transitioned child
that she fucking hated in the beginning. She disowned.
Yeah,
I don't
but
think
now
she gets all the credit.
But now she's cool with it, and she's dating an African American fella who's younger than her, and she
is Chaz?
Cher.
Cher is okay,
and she turned back time, dude.
Yeah, that's true, dude. That video of her on the Navy ship, in that with her ass in fishnets,
in the Howard Stern pants.
Howard Stern pants? Is that what he wore?
In the Buttman video, remember from his movie, Fart Man.
Fart Man. Yeah, I don't think it was the same.
I think realistically, my Mount Rockmore would be Buddy Holly.
Really, Buddy Holly? I mean, outside of dying in a plane crash,
he was
with
incredible.
Big Bopper.
Buddy Holly, Johnny Cash. I would say John Lennon, and then Hendrix.
See, I would go Eddie. I would put Eddie in there.
Van Halen or Munster?
Munster. Yeah.
Okay.
No, Eddie Van Halen I would put in there. I might put Nikki Sixx in there. No, you know what? Maybe Kurt goes in there because he's dead too. Maybe that makes sense. But Prince would be one of those for me.
So Cobain, Van Halen.
And I'm not even a big Nirvana fan. And maybe Cobain, it seems like people, he'd be worthy.
I feel like Grohl has a better standing if you're going to go with Nirvana.
But he's alive.
I know, but I think get rid of Garrett's window.
No, hold on.
Grohl.
You're the second. Now, first of all, I'm not a Dave Grohl fan. I'm just saying in terms of albums sold and bands after Nirvana, he's kind of
Okay,
done it all.
by that metric, let's put the Backstreet Boys up there.
Yeah, why don't you
Great.
put, you know who sold the exact same amount of records as him? Pat Smear.
Well,
And
no, I'm
he's-
just saying, because you said Kurt Cobain, and I'm like, well, he kind of ended after Nirvana, whereas Dave Grohl formed a second band that was also extremely successful. So
Yeah,
why
Pat-
argue about Cobain?
Well,
when,
Pat's been in Foo Fighters too, so.
yeah, that's true. He can go too.
Well, I'm not going to tell a man who he can and cannot have on his Mount Rockmore, but yeah, I'd have to think more about it because I can make an argument. Let's see, I can make a great argument for Bob Dylan, Jerry Garcia.
Well, if you're gonna do fucking Dylan and Garcia, why don't you do the hybrid cross pollination Bob Seger?
Yeah, you could put Eminem up there.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Do you think Eminem and Kid Rock talk about politics since they're so polar opposite?
No, probably
You
not.
That'd be fun.
They probably
No.
don't.
Nah.
That would be a cool podcast.
Yeah, wouldn't it?
Rock and M. And
Dude,
then
I
they
thought
would-
it was cool in 2016, 17 when Kid Rock and what's his name sat down and talked politics. Sean Penn.
I would,
at a bar.
I'm still throwing up. I didn't even see it.
Yeah, it was good at the time. I covered it. We talked about it, but it was like we were in it was really the start of the full separation, and it might have been after that, might have been a couple years after that, might have been after Trump got elected even. But it was like, hey, this is the way it should be. You can have completely different opinions, but still sit down and be brethren. And I think they were neighbors. Maybe this might have been when Kid Rock was living in Malibu area.
I've heard nice things about his house or the
Whose?
house there.
Kid Rock's? Yeah, I'm sure it was amazing. I got time for one more. This broke today. Not a lot of reporting on this. Which
Wait,
I'm
don't
kinda
you have to do a
surprised by.
read? You don't want to do a read at the end. Do the read before. Do the read
Thank
before
you,
people
buddy.
leave.
Hold on.
Sure.
Hold on. Great call. This part of the show is brought to you by our dear friends at the Deer Lake Athletic Club. Deer Lake Athletic Club offers a full gym, fitness classes, 3 pools, swim lessons, tennis, pickleball, and more. I played my first game of pickleball the other day, or a couple weeks ago when I was in California. It's a good game. I think if I was playing with adults instead of fucking talentless hack children, it would have been great. I think there might be a future with this pickleball. The Backcourt Restaurant inside the Deer Lake Athletic Club has weekly specials like Taco Tuesday, kids meals for $5 on Thursdays, live entertainment on Fridays, and their newest Sippin' Saturdays featuring half-off wine and appetizers. 248-625-8686. Call them for more information. It's 248-625-8686 or stop in at 6167 White Lake Road in Clarkston or visit their website at deerlakeathletic.club.com. I want to apologize dearly for not doing their read last week. I'll make that whole this week because they are very good to us. I have a story here. Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, the first man. Is he the first man? Is that what he's known as? Or
not at the moment.
No, not yet. Is he the second man?
I think he's the vice president's husband.
Right. But I know, but like Jill Biden is the first lady. What is the vice president's?
Second lady?
Second lady. Okay, Doug Emhoff, the second lady.
He's the second lady.
He admitted, now I don't know if it sounds like more like caught in the media.
You're correct, by the way, second lady.
Second lady. Okay, yep. So Doug Emhoff, the second lady, admitted that he cheated on his first wife with the couple's babysitter.
Good for him.
After a report was published on Saturday. I think that's really the key to the story. After a report was published on Saturday. When you go, fuck, they found out about that. God damn it. Story gets better. He says the marriage ended after he knocked the babysitter up.
So he wasn't married to Kamala at the time?
No.
So he's just coming clean and just saying, I used to kind of suck.
Well, coming clean is a strong word. Strong phrase, because again, I said after a report was published on Saturday.
Okay.
So coming clean would have been like, you know what, I did this, and then we talk about it. But no, when a report's coming out about it, and you go, fuck, and then you got to come clean. It's like when people say, oh, you're apologizing, you're only sorry because you got caught. Kind of one of those things. Yeah. Emhoff cheated on his then wife, Kirsten Emhoff, with Najin Naylor, who also taught at the private school that the couple's kids attended. Jesus.
He really nailed her.
Dude, I have, how many times did he use that joke to friends?
Several.
Naylor? Like, how would you not be like, yeah, fuck yeah, I nailed her?
How could I not hook up with a babysitter? I mean, you knew I was going to nail her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
I mean, it writes itself. And dude, by the way, pull out. And before that first contraction, that's where all the pre-cum is. You got to get out of there and land. You don't fuck the babysitter and just lazily finish inside her, dummy, when you're married. I mean, how stupid is he?
Yeah.
So Naylor, who during my first marriage, Kirsten and I went through some rough times on account of my actions. I took responsibility, and in the years since, we worked through things as a family. We've come out stronger on the other side. Have you, though? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Now he's married to he's about to be the first man. It worked out pretty good for him.
Yeah, sure. But when you say we came out stronger, like you and the wife you cheated on with the babysitter who you knocked up, you've talked about it. Now you're stronger because of that. So this was a good thing then. I mean, if all our actions led us to being stronger in our relationships with people, I hope everybody fucks their babysitter and knocks them up while they're married. I mean, that would just make sense.
Well, so don't you think in a way karma takes care of itself the way it's supposed to?
Yeah.
Well, look at it this way. Mm-hmm. So, okay, for example, now I'm not saying this is karma, but this is an observation. Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Cheats on.
Are you saying the second lady's going down in a helicopter?
No, I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just saying karma, and this could be from the perspective of Kobe's wife. Oh, this is horrible. I can't believe I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
It's not even that big of a deal. So Kobe was this basketball player who made a mistake. He fooled around with some girl. He took responsibility for it. Right?
You're talking about the one in Colorado that she claims he fucked her in the ass, raped her in the ass. Yeah.
I don't know the details.
I do.
But he took responsibility, bought Vanessa a pretty huge ring.
Yeah.
She was humiliated.
I think it was yellow too, or purple or something. It was cool.
Yeah, it was a big rock. And he redeemed himself, and he did a lot of work, and he worked his ass off to get back to where he was, and so he redeemed himself. But
you mean from the injury or from his reputation? His
reputation. Mm-hmm. He took responsibility. He did the work. He did like a bunch of a bunch of donations to charity things. He did the work. He just said, I take complete responsibility for this. I completely fucked up. I made a mistake. I'm a man.
I don't know if he went that far. I don't think his comments were that far at all.
I think they were, and his actions proved it. He was a great father and a great whatever afterwards. And he had it, and I'm not saying karma is him getting into a helicopter crash. I'm just saying, just in general, he kind of fixed his karma by taking care of the things that he wronged.
Yeah. I would agree with some of that. I don't think his admission was quite that strong at the time. That would be a really hard one to do. Because the accusation was really not good.
Oh yeah, no, I remember.
Like anal rape against someone's will, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's not something you can usually historically just kind of be a better person and get out of publicly.
But no one's ever going to mention again. He had a horribly untimely death.
Yeah.
And obviously with his daughter. No one's going to just be like, oh my God, you know what? No one's going to talk shit about that situation, in a bad way. They're going to say he righted himself before the end of his time.
Ari Shaffir did.
Ari Shaffir made a mistake temporarily, but didn't that also, it's impossible to get canceled. Everybody who said something like that ends up being more popular than when they said it.
Yeah.
Ari Shaffir is insanely popular.
But is that, but he lost his fucking agent, got fired from everything. He lost a lot of shit. Now he's very talented, so he's been able to build it back up. And there's a few people that have helped him with that for sure. But, I did it at the time. It was no, that part of the story doesn't just get to go away.
Yeah.
That's part of the story.
Right.
It is. And if you're a public figure, unfortunately, you're not going to talk about Bill Clinton no matter what without talking about Monica Lewinsky. It's just the way it works.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's not to say that people don't deserve credit for the work they put in if they truly. And I agree with you. By all accounts, Kobe seemed like a wonderful father.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he really did, and those kids adored him, and you feel for them. Absolutely. Every time you think about him, you think about, him coaching his daughter's basketball team, and they talk about what an amazing talent she was, cut short. I mean, it's horrible. It's a horrible story. It really is. So, do people get stronger? This may, I don't know that I believe that from the second lady. Naylor didn't deny the story, but said, I'm kind of freaked out right now. Yeah, I bet you are. I bet you are. You hoped this story would fuck off into the ether. And it's like, he's the second lady at this point. Holy shit. Right. I hope no one brings this up, but they did. A source with knowledge of the affair and pregnancy told the Mail that Naylor did not keep the child. So whether that means gave up for adoption, aborted, I don't know.
Craigslist.
What's that? Craigslist could be.
Obviously.
I mean, no one even brings up the fact that you can just drop off at a hospital or a fire station. Like, does nobody do that anymore? You can totally do that. No questions asked.
I don't know, man. It seems fire stations seem to have very difficult entry points, whereas they didn't before. They're locked. You got to hit a buzzer.
Yeah, that's true.
There's lots of cameras.
But if you just drop the bonnet on the stoop and then hit a buzzer and take off, they're not even going to flag you down. They're not going to ask anything. I don't know. Doug and I decided to end our marriage for a variety of reasons many years ago. That's Kirsten Emhoff said, his ex-wife. I'm going to say, by variety, she means when he fucked the babysitter. That's what I'm not going to read too much into it. I don't want to pretend to be in her head. But when she says, "Yeah, we split up after a variety of reasons," not coming on the babysitter's belly would be one reason. All that kind of stuff. You can take a knee on this one, Chris. I don't blame you if you want to. He's a great father to our kids, continues to be a great friend to me, and I'm really proud of the warm, supportive, blended family Doug and Kamala and I have built together. The Washington Post reported that Emhoff's affair was known by the president, Joe Biden. Well, didn't he fuck his babysitter too? I believe, wasn't the story that Jill was his babysitter in 1972 when he was running for the Senate?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. So, I mean, who's he to look down on a fellow babysitter fucker? I don't know.
I don't think anybody does. I think it's madness. What's happening right now?
It's crazy. Usually the reporting you see is Trump's been married 3 times and divorced 3 times. And I go out and say yeah, you think he's fucking part of the hardcore Christian right and wants to fucking ban abortion? Donald Trump's probably had a dozen abortions. Don't think for some reason he's some morally grounded individual. It's just funny to me how these guys present. All these people want to present as morally intact and above reproach. And it's no, they're all just shitty human beings. I'm not in a great spot in my marriage, so fuck the babysitter. Nice. Quality people we keep electing. But at the same time, I don't think any respectable human beings would want to take up that role. It's too shitty. It's too shitty, too big of a spotlight. I don't know that it's smart for these people to bring that up and go down that road. So, yeah, anyways. But yeah, I wonder if anyone cares about that story. I wonder if that's a talking point, if anyone cares, if it's oh, it happened a long time ago and they're cool with it. It'd be interesting to see what the standard is going forward.
We'll find out.
And as for your little comment about, can you leave a baby at a fire station still these days? They actually have started opening up these baby drop boxes in the side of fire stations that it's a box. You open up, put your kid in there, and you run away.
What? They have drop boxes? Like a red box?
Yep. There's a whole company that makes baby drop boxes.
Wow. So there must be a serious uptick in dropping babies off.
Yeah, they're in San Antonio. They're all over Indiana.
Of course they are.
All right, Chris, you look tired. Let's shut it down.
Yeah, I gotta get to the whiskey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tell people what you're doing. Safe Haven baby box drop off.
So funny.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. So that means it happens quite often.
It'd be funny if when you put the baby in there, it handed you 2 condoms and said, just try this
next time.
Yeah. So what are you doing at the whiskey? And then we'll cut it off here.
I'm hosting for Michelle's band.
What's her band?
Fast Times.
Fast Times. It's a
Cover band.
It's a cover band, like doing 80s soundtrack stuff. It looks really cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Next time I'm in town, does she do that every week?
Not every week, but she does it a lot of Mondays.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for being here, buddy. Chris, I'll text you later about tomorrow because it's going to be a little tricky just because I got quite a bit going on.
All right, sounds
good. Say hi to Michelle for me. Garrett, thank you. Thank you for being hot on pulling stuff up there. I appreciate it. That was great. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Walters@DetroitCast.com if you want to send an email. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me how you're liking Chris Newberg sitting here, Garrett, myself, whatever. Yeah, have a great rest of the day. We'll see you guys.